leverage on? What is our mainstay? At Emigrate, we have both premium and freemium model. How do you take advantage of our communities? What are the stories or success stories that has happened or that people have enjoyed, if you like, within the Emigrate ecosystem. So there's free information that you can leverage on, free but very valuable information about the various visa type, right? Opportunity within, for you to relocate yourself, your business, and even at what's called headhunt. Position yourself for headhunting. We would be sharing insights into this. We're not a how do you call it, migration or immigration lawyers. We're just sharing what we know that has worked and what you can leverage on, right? So we expect you to do your research. Whatever we say here, you can double check it online and do your research around it. If you're looking at traveling, you should love reading and researching about opportunities outside your present geography, right? So which startup visa is right for you? It's the focus for today. But before we go that far, what is Emigrate? I just wanted to do some housekeeping. I will have one of our senior consultants in the person of Mr. Badi share also on startup visa. He'll come in and share extensively on startup visa. So you still have enough time to invite your friends to jump in. Right, Emigrate. What we focus on in Emigrate is tech-enabled pathway to relocation and to settlement. That is the focus. Today, we're talking about startup visa, right? Leveraging on technology, right? Technology pathway. In the past, we've talked about global talent visa. We've talked about the Canadian visa. We've talked about migrating to Australia. But all our conversations have been centered around tech-enabled visa opportunity, right? So you won't hear us talking about nursing. You won't hear us talking about, school routes, like they like to put it. We are focused on tech-enabled opportunity, visa opportunity, right? So previous edition, if you just do a simple Google of the word emigrate, EMIGR8, right? Figure 8. You would come across dozens of our videos, past edition, with valuable insights, with valuable knowledge that you can leverage on, from migrating to the US using the O1 visa to Tech Nation ambassador visa or endorsements to migrate to Australia, right? Then the various routes we have talked about between the UK and the US, right? So there's a rich, and it's free, it's on the internet. There's a rich repository of work that has been done, conversation that happened in the past that will benefit you if you're looking at different visa type, as long as the underlying word is that it's a tech-enabled visa opportunity that you're looking out for, right? Tech-enabled. So we go back to startup visa. Today we're going to be focusing on startup visa. But first, let me also let you know things that will be coming up soon. Subsequent conversation. Today is startup and innovation visa. There are some markets, or should I say some country calls it entrepreneurship visa. Some countries call it innovator visa, and some call it startup visa. So at the end of the day, they're focusing on startup, right? If you're a startup founder and you have a small business or a startup business that can thrive in a different climate, in a different demography, or in a different market, there are nations that are looking out for opportunities. They're looking out for brands like yours that they can support and grow so that it grows their economy. They are aware that startups are the drivers of the economy these days. Small and medium scale businesses are the drivers of economy, and they know that with proper support, you might become the blue chip of tomorrow, the Facebook of tomorrow, the name it Microsoft, name it IBM of tomorrow. These all started as a small tech company. They started as a startup, and they've grown to become big employers of labor, contributing huge tax returns to the community and to the nations that they are operating out of, employing huge work, what's called labor tax, or huge people, if I can put it out, and contributing hugely to the economy. So yeah, we're talking about startup visa today. We also have talked about UK Tech Nation visa opportunity, also known as Global Talent, right? We've talked about this, and we are also going to be having another edition where we'll expand the knowledge around Tech Nation visa. We're also looking at move to the US with global talent, which is that will come up in the near future. Subsequent edition. We've had conversations in the past, hosted guests in the past that have talked about the O1 visa. So we have videos online that you can search for, and you find it. Canada Startup Visa and French Tech Visa. These are sessions that we're hoping to bring to you guys in subsequent edition, right? Emigrates, like I said, our focus is tech-enabled pathway to relocation and settlement. That is what we are focused on. We would not talk about school route. We would not talk about nursing, for example. We're focused on tech-enabled pathway. So if you're in the tech field or a tech enthusiast, and you're looking at relocating either fiscally, or you're looking at relocating your business, or you're looking at looking for job in tech across the globe, then this is the right platform for you to be part of. I will ask you to join actively our Emigrates community, because there are a lot of opportunities that we constantly share in those community, right? What we do primarily is to help you become globally attractive, right? To help you scale your business to the point where your business is maybe scale is not the word, profile your business, because you're already building your business at scale, I would like to believe, right? We want to help you profile your business to become globally attractive. We want to help you profile your journey, for example, as a tech enthusiast or as a technology person, so that you become globally attractive to brands, to companies that are employing across the world. And if necessary, if you so desire to move, you would be in a better position to get this endorsement and get this visa. Like we say, the visa is only a side effect of our objective. Our main objective is, how do we make you globally attractive, right? And there are different structure we've put in place to help you navigate this part. We have the free structure, which is we're having an open day today. It's one of the free sessions that we hold. We also have the premium session that helps you, handhold you, and just give you step and guideline that you can follow through. For the free sessions, we're having information session like the one we're having now. We have general inquiry sessions. At some point in this conversation, we'll have questions from the audience. So if you are in the audience, if you have a question, or when the speaker starts going through the various startup visa, you can drop your question in the chat, right? And we'll take it. So this make up part of the general inquiry session. So feel free to ask your questions. Any question you have, we will try as much as possible to answer it. And where we are not able to, we'll come back to you and give you direction or more information with regards to question. We have coaching and hand-holding session. We have self-directed roadmap to qualify you for a tech-enabled visa. For example, for new beginners, you think, oh, this is not for me. They're looking for experts. They're looking for exceptional talent. We can work with you, build a roadmap that you can work on, check the boxes, and over a period of 6 months to 1 year, you can become globally attractive on the background of what you are currently working on, right? Because a lot of us have invested a lot in tech, or invested a lot in our career journey, and what we really need is someone to take a look at the work we have done and profile us correctly. So with 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 a roadmap, we can achieve those set goals. So that exists in the community. Examples of visas that we focus on is or that we review, if you can put it that way. It's startup visa, UK Global Talent application, right? We review the application before you submit for endorsement. And we also do endorsement review. And these, right, are the general Emigrate service that we at Emigrate focus on, right? Like I said, we have the free part of that conversation, and we have the premium part. It's similar, it's the same thing. The free part is that you have general information, inspiration, you join the community, you have access to our introductory videos, you have access to open day consultation, you have visa specific office hours inquiry and short inquiries limited to one short session per person, right? Where in the premium session, you're part of the, still the community. We call it the Emigrate Circle, but now you have personalized coaching session. You have standard package reviews, and it's just custom service for people that are not, who typically would not have the time to build their report or build their profile. We can journey with you, and that's why it's premium, because you're going to be paying for the time and effort that a coach will put into investing. We invest in your roadmap, if I can put it that way. So if you're interested, like I said, the favorite place to be is beancom.net/emigrate. That is a website. And if you click on that, you would find more information, a short form that you can fill, and you are in the community, right? And we'll also be sharing some of our social media community link within the chat as the conversation progresses. So we have a Telegram community, we have a WhatsApp community, which is exclusive, and we have Facebook, YouTube communities. Look out for that post and click on the link and join any of the community, right? And be active. In this, a lot of people have won gifts in terms of sessions, within the community that have benefited their journey, right? And we have a lot of testimonials to show for people in the community. Emigrate packages move to the UK as a global talent. This focuses on the UK global talent visa, otherwise known as technician visa. All right. We have coaches that can invest time with you in this journey if that's the route you're looking at. We also have moved to the UK in 3 to 6 months. This is the startup visa, or if you like, the UK innovator visa, right? Which we're going to be talking extensively on today. We also have the move to the US as a global talent. This focuses on US O1 visa for individual with extraordinary ability or achievement. Don't allow the word extraordinary rule you out, right? Like I said, we can have a session with a coach, and we'll sit down with you and review what you have done, and you might be amazed that you have extraordinary abilities or achievements. You've not just been able to prioritize it in those definitions before now, right? So we also have Move in 2022, if 5 tech-enabled visa pathway to explore, which is the UK, US, Canada, France, Germany. If you're interested in any of those countries, right, either by moving your startup to these countries, or you are planning to relocate or get job headhunting opportunities in those countries, please join the Emigrate community. We have a lot of information around those. And UK tech-enabled visa pathway to for focused skilled workers in the UK. We have content around those, and we are willing to share the information. The much we know, we're willing to share with you to help your journey, right? So I mentioned Emigrate communities. These are the communities. We have the WhatsApp, we have Telegram, we have Facebook, we have LinkedIn communities. We have a community on YouTube also. And what I will say is join the community, be active, share, like, post, engage in the community, be active. You never can tell. There are opportunities. There are people winning loads of prize within this community, and just being active in the community. So that's a little giveaway. Once you join the community, don't stay mute. Communicate, ask questions. We want to hear from you. We want to answer as much questions as possible, and book sessions with the coach. If that's your thing, right, do that, and we would give you as much information as we can with respect to your goals, right? But back to Emigrate. Emigrate is a part of the Bancom Dev Center family, right? And other services from the Bancom Dev Center include Global Tech program, which is the Bancom Global Tech program. This is for people that are just tech enthusiasts and new in tech, and you want to become globally attractive. All right, we can teach you the different techs, depending on the field of interest. We have classes across various tech fields, right? And we also have opportunities where we expose you to real experience and expose you to real projects, right? So you're not just learning, you are learning. There's a phase for learning. There's a phase where we expose you to real project, which will reach opportunities to build skill in any field of tech, specifically programming, right? So if you're looking at front end, back end, full stack, data analysis, we have classes around there. And if that is where you are at the moment, if you're trying to move from being intermediary to professional in any of the class or category you're in, we can help you progress smoothly. So bancom.net/global tech is where you want to go. And if you want to, there's a short form there you fill for registration. Tell us what you want to learn, and we'll get back to you as soon as you hit send, right? So there's a beginner level, there's intermediate level, and we can grow you from either of those levels, depending on where you are, to becoming a full stack, if you like, or if that's your journey, if that's your goal, or to becoming globally attractive, if that is also your goal, right? It's usually a 1 to 2 year program, depending on your project and how you want to progress with it, right? So it is a fantastic opportunity, and I encourage if you're new in tech, this is a great way to start your journey to becoming globally attractive. So we also have other business like other Bancom Dev Center programs like the mentoring platform. If you're looking for mentors, we have mentors, and we can pair you up with a mentor. If you're a mentor, you're looking for mentees to mentor, we would like to have a conversation with you, and would like you to join our mentoring platform, where you have opportunity to mentor other people in the tech space. So this is a good opportunity for those that are mentors and those that are mentees looking for mentors in the tech field. Remember, the underlying word or the common denominator across everything we do is tech enabled. You have to be in the tech. So the mentors we're looking at for our tech mentors, right? Just to put a context to that. We also have a fantastic one, which I like so much, which is the Bancom Labs by Bancom, right? It gives you an opportunity to join a team to build a product-led digital technology or product-led digital product, or technology. How do I put it? Product-led digital technology products, right? So if you are looking out to apply for most of any of the tech-enabled visa path, most of the time they ask that you have showed skill or history or track record in building a digital product-led product or service, right? Mostly product. So Blab by Bancom is a cohort. It helps you, pairs you up in a team. You join a cohort where you pick a particular project or a particular product. You want to solve the problem of pairing young school leavers with internship position in Lagos, for example. We can build a product around that, right? You can build a digital product where you can log into a portal and you see all the companies that are listing internship, and you're part of that from scratch, and you deliver that product, maybe in an app store or in the marketplace, anywhere, things like that. And you can add that to your CV, you can add that to your portfolio. And you don't have to be a developer to be in Labs by Bancom. You can be a product manager, you can be a project manager for that. You can be a front-end developer, you can be a graphic designer. We need all these skills in a cohort, right? So you are very much welcome. You're very much welcome to be part of Last by Income. There is I think there's a recruitment process going on around Last by Income. Recruitment is not quite the word. So there's a cohort session going on. So you could join the cohort session. It's a 3 to 6 month program where you join a team and you can create a product. If you're looking at starting, building a startup, all right. This is a fantastic. Last by Income is highly recommended, especially for freelancers. If you're working on your own and you're trying to work in a team, right? Last by Income, it's a great opportunity, right? Okay. I spoke about dev tech talent that are in particular market and want to work across other markets, other demography. We have a headhunting service for tech employment and recruitment service for individuals. So if you're looking at applying for job across board, across different geography, right, or you want to land a role fast, even within your ecosystem that you operate from, right? We have a headhunting service, beancom.net/headhunter is where you want to go and fill the form there and let us know your skill sets and let us know what you're looking out for. And our team will get back to you with opportunities that we see in that field, right? And you can take advantage of that, right? Fantastic. I've talked about the available, some of the available tech-enabled visa and routes to relocation and settlement. Talked about the startup, talked about innovator. It's used almost in the same field. So some countries call it startup, some call it innovator, some call it entrepreneurial visa. Most of the time, they're talking about the same thing. I've also talked about global talent. And this specifically for UK, global talent visa, which is called Technician. I think there's also global talent visa for Australia, right? Yeah, and we also have, in terms of, we also have skilled workers route for the UK, right? So in the UK, we have tech startup visa, innovator visa, global talent visa, and skilled workers route. These are all tech-enabled routes that we support and that we coach people on, that we have a community around, right? In the US, the O1 and EB visa type is something that we have a lot of information around, and we don't mind sharing with you. We have coaches that can handhold you through the process if you're looking at opportunity in that area. In Canada, the startup visa, right? We'll be talking about, we'll be focusing on UK startup visa and Canada startup visa into this conversation. And in France, we have the French tech visa, and we also have other European countries that are coming up with startup visa, that are coming up with talent visas, and that we are exploring. And if you're interested in any of those, we would be happy to share with you if you are in our communities. Yeah. So yeah, this list is not exhaustive. So there are a lot of more information. That's why I said there's more information if you're part of the community. You learn more, you know more, because we are constantly sharing resources within the community. Right? So what is your focus? Right? Is the question I like to ask. For us, pathway to settlement, is what we enable. And for startup visa, you can move with, for startup visa, and indeed most tech visa, you can move with your family. You can focus, you can move with the family. Are you a beginner? Yes, we have a plan. We can drop a roadmap with you, starting from, Beacom Global Tech Program. If you're already a full stack developer, we can work with you to draw up a roadmap to, handhold you through the process. One thing you should know is that nobody is disqualified. Everybody's eligible. Some people might be eligible today, and some other people might be eligible in a year, some other people in 2 years. As long as you are willing to put in the time, you would be eligible. So we focus on tech-enabled opportunity only, right? I think I've mentioned that before. And we have loads of materials online that you can binge on, videos on YouTube on previous edition of Emigrate Open Day. And this list is obviously, not exhaustive, but we have a conversation today. We want to focus on tech startup or the startup visa. And we have Bade in the room to unpack that for us today. Bade, are you here? To unpack.
Yes, I am.
All right, you're welcome. To unpack the tech startup visa for us today, I think you'll be focusing on two major startup visa. So if you have questions, please put it on the chat. We're also going to be dropping links to the communities on the chat. When we drop the link, please click on those links, join the community. We want to take the conversation beyond an hour or beyond 1 hour, 30 minutes. We want to understand where you are, what you're looking out for. And if possible, our coaches can work with you on your journey. All right, so Bade, over to you.
Thank you so much, Modi. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us at this edition of Emigrate Open Day. My name is Bade. Amongst many other things, I'm the CTO and co-founder of Social Lender. And today I will just be sharing some information around different startup visas from all over the world, particularly some of the ones that we should pay attention to if we are startup founders ourselves, if we are aspiring startup founders, or if we already are thinking along that line. Now, one of the interesting things that many people, just before I run through my slide, and just to give an approach to what it is I'll be doing for the next couple of minutes, and then we're hoping that there will be many questions. We are hoping to have a full-fledged open consultation session during this edition where you can ask questions based on your own unique circumstance. The only thing I will mention is that this is being recorded, and so don't share things that you don't want to see on the internet generally. Having said that, today we will be looking at over 10 plus different countries of the world, and many of these countries have one startup visa or the other. We would explain a bit about the framework in which many of these countries of the world, if the framework in which they run their startup visa offering. Many of these countries, they literally do the same thing. As we've always said in Emigrate, tech is the new oil. And to a large extent, many countries of the world have realized that the battle is no longer for the resources in the ground. The battle is now for talent and innovation. There's a reason why America is fighting really hard around 5G. There's a reason why many countries of the world are fighting really hard in terms of the different technologies, trying to make sure that many of those technologies are domiciled in their environment. And the reason for that is simply that many countries have realized that this is the only way our countries can grow anymore economically at scale. Right? And tech is one of those ones where it's very easy for you to be able to do many things very fast, bring so many people out of poverty, create so many jobs, and so on. Many forward-thinking countries of the world realize this. And so that's the reason why almost all over Europe, almost all over the Western world, they have one visa or the other asking people that have innovation to come. And so to a large extent, what they are saying is that if you can add value to our economy, then we want you in our jurisdiction. If you can bring your innovation, then we want you to come. We want you to come not just by yourself, bring your family along. Because we know that when we calculated net, that innovation, that talent, that number of employments you will create, even if it's because you are a staff in a tech-enabled organization, a digital product-led organization, and several others that people are looking at, fast growth companies basically, they realize that net, even if we ask you to bring your family and your children and everybody, we think that you're going to add more value to us. Of course, you will pay taxes. Of course, you will pay council tax. You will pay all of those kinds of things as well. And that's the reason why many of these startup visas exist today. It's not because they are doing you a favor, right? Many people, because some people probably in the room, some of us in the room, we may be in the camp of anywhere but here, meaning that you just want to leave your home country. And so for you, it's where can I go immediately? We understand that there are people in that circumstance and all of that, but we are hoping that you think about it from the perspective of, oh, I'm adding value. And so if I'm adding value, I want to choose the best jurisdiction for me based on several different indices. But today our focus is to say that which startup visa is right for you. I'll just say something very quickly to say the honest truth is we can't answer that question for you. We can't. We can advise, we can point you in the right direction, we can tell you everything we know. If we understand your unique circumstance, we can recommend. But at the end of the day, it would be your decision at the end of the day. But I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully you can see my screen. All right. I'm sharing my screen and I asked the question to say, what do all these countries I've listed here, what do they have in common? Of course, you can guess since you already know what it is that we are talking about today. What they have in common is the fact that every one of these countries listed, and this is not an exhaustive list. This is just some of the countries. This is not an exhaustive list. Every one of these countries have one startup visa or the other, one visa around. Now, some of these ones, they have different names. They could call it Entrepreneurial visa. They could call it Innovation visa. Some of them have different names. But at the end of the day, the fundamentals of these visa types are the same. The fundamentals of these visa types are the same. So you can take a screenshot of this, you can Google it, because to a large extent, some of these things you can find in the public domain. But why we're having this conversation is because we want you to realize a couple of information that you may not have been paying attention to. We want you to pay attention to the fact that these opportunities are available today. They may not be available tomorrow. In fact, some of the visa types, we've spoken about the UK startup visa a few times within the Emigrate community. I can tell you for free that the UK startup visa is getting slightly more difficult for you to get. And the reason for that is because the UK Home Office have also now started doing a second level verification. Before now, 6 months ago, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, what would happen is that if you got an endorsement from an endorsing body, you were guaranteed almost automatically that you will get the visa because the Home Office would not do any more assessments. But because the UK Home Office has now realized that, some endorsing bodies are not really doing proper assessment, they are also assessing the individual ideas to say that, are you sure this thing meets our criteria? And we'll come to some of those conversations. And that's part of the reason why we're having this discussion today. And so there are a few things that we would like you to note as we drill down into some of these countries, some of the startup visa programs, and so on. There are a few things that we would like you to note. Some of these startup visas are easier to get than others. And that's the reason why I used the example of the UK startup visa. The UK startup visa was as simple as if you had a business plan that was considered innovative, viable, and scalable by an endorsing body, and that endorsing body gives you an endorsement, then you can get a visa from the UK Home Office for you to be able to build your startup in the UK. It is still the case, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying that if you are interested in that particular visa, you may want to move fast because it is gradually getting harder. And this is actually the fact for every one of these countries as well. They've opened these gates today because they need people to show up in their jurisdiction. They want people to show up those things I mentioned earlier in this conversation. And so there's no guarantee that many of these opportunities will be there tomorrow. We estimate that many of them will be available for the next 2 years or 3 years or thereabout. But the truth is that what happens a lot of times in many of these countries is there are people that are monitoring indices. And so when they see that they have enough people, then they will start closing the gates. How do they do that? They will make the ability to get the visa, the requirements more stringent. And so that will reduce people. It's the same reason why the Canada Express entry, for example, is now getting harder and harder to get because the requirement is getting higher and higher as more people are also finding out about it. And so many of these startup visas are easy to land, but some of them are not so easy to land. You can do your research. Is there a pathway to settlement? For many of these visa types, they have a pathway to settlement. Some of them are direct pathways, some of them are indirect pathways, and I will explain what I mean. The direct pathway is that once you land that visa, you're already on your way to settlement. So an example is the Canada startup visa, because that is a permanent residency. But the UK startup visa, you get it for just 2 years. And then after that 2 years, you will not even be able to renew, but you can move to another, we'll still call it a startup visa. It's called the UK Innovator Visa. It's still around the startup. There's a bit more requirement, but you can move to that visa after your startup visa expires. And so direct pathway to settlement, indirect pathway to settlement. It's important for you to take a look at the different visa types that you're looking at. And some people can say, oh, I want to move to an intermediate country first. I know this is my destination country, maybe in Europe, maybe in Americas, maybe in North America or South America or wherever. But you can also say, oh, I want to move first to an intermediate country for a couple of years, maybe because I don't yet meet the criteria for the target country I'm trying to go to, or maybe because this country may have the things I need for my startup at this time. And then once my startup gets to a certain stage, then I can move on to somewhere else. Those are some considerations you may want to think about as well. For us at Emigrate, most of the visa types that we focus on visa types that allows your family to be able to move with you. But then it is not every single one of these startup visas that allows your family to be able to move with you. And so you need to also consider that to say, oh, what does this actually give me? Of course, if you are single, you're not yet married, then it doesn't matter to you. But then if you are married with a couple of kids or expecting kids or hoping to have kids in the future, then that may be an important consideration to you at that point. So those are some things you want to take a look at. The stage that your startup needs to be also would matter. Some of these startup visas are available to your startup once you have an idea. Some of them are only available when you've raised a certain amount of money. And so some, once you have customers, once you've started selling, once that you've shown that, oh, this can be profitable. In fact, some startup visas expect your startup to already be revenue generating before you can even apply. Mostly they call them entrepreneurial visa, but we can look at some of those countries which we will do very shortly anyway, right? In some cases as well, your company would need to be funded for you to be able to land that specific visa type. And so an example is the Innovator Visa in the UK, where you need at least £50,000 per person in the startup applying for you to be able to even start the process. So you need to have either invested that amount of money into your company. But I need to mention this, so just in case somebody is considering that route, the requirement does not say that money must be in your account. The requirement actually just says that you need to have invested that amount of money into your startup. I will say it again. I'm not going to break it down, but in case somebody is in that category, you may want to hear this again. The UK Innovator Visa requirement does not say that you must have £50,000 in your account. It actually says you must have 50,000 pounds invested in your startup. It means that if you've invested some money in developers, in product managers, in some of those things, it actually can count depending on how you position your startup. For some of these startup visas, you can start as a beginner in tech, meaning that for some of us in the room that have 0 years of experience in tech, maybe even 0 months of experience, maybe you're in the room and you're thinking, oh, is tech even for me? Should I go into this other route or this other route and so on? There are startup visas that are available for you because you're a beginner in the field of technology. Not because you're a beginner in the field of technology, but you can actually start building yourself. Guess what? In 1 month, you can actually get into tech. Tech is one of those areas where there's a low barrier to entry. In 3 months, you can get into tech. In 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you can actually start building expertise in the field of tech. But what I'm saying to you is that within a certain period of time, you can actually build the skills that you need for you to get into tech. The other question that typically comes is that if you have 0 startup experience, this is also possible for you to actually start building yourself as a startup founder. In fact, we mentioned one of the programs that Bincom has, which is Labs by Bincom. It's a 3-month pre-incubation program. And somebody called it the nursery for startup founders, meaning that you can use that type of program for you to start springboarding yourself to become a startup founder. You should check that out. Bincom.net/labs is the link. As I mentioned earlier as well, many of these visa types, some of them have different names. Some of these visa types have different names, and the different names of the visa would pretty much tell you the same thing about the visa. These visa types are available. These visa types are things that the countries of the world want you to come if you can bring value to their economy. And so what I'm just going to do with the next session, and as we've mentioned earlier, is that if you have questions, please drop them in the chat. Apologies, there's a poll that we would like to share. And so I guess my colleague can share the poll now if that hasn't been done already, where we would like to just get some information from you, our audience. We plan to have this session in 2 parts. The first part is what we are doing today, focusing on, we've already pre-selected the 2 visa types we'll focus on today. I think Moody mentioned it already, right? But I will just spend a few minutes talking generally about some of the different visa types. I showed you already a list of the countries. And so you can literally put the name of that country and put startup visa beside it on Google. A lot of information will come out, right, for those specific countries. What I will do within the next couple of minutes is that I'm going to run through a bunch of these visa types, right? From different countries, and I will mention some key features, some key information, some key things that you may need to know, some key information that may be interesting to you around that particular visa type. That's what I'm going to do with the next couple of minutes. And then after that, we will then zoom in on 2 visa types, 2 specific visas, right? I don't want to mention the names right now, but we'll zoom in on 2 specific visas. And then we will speak about how Emigrate can actually help you if you're in the journey of looking at these startup visas. All right, so I will start by, as I did earlier, what I did was I showed a list of the countries. Because of time, because I'm looking at my time, we want to allow a lot of time for questions in this session. So I'm going to do this slightly differently than I planned. 1 second, 1 moment, actually. All right. So what I'm just going to do is I'll leave the names of the countries on, and then I will just speak about some of these countries' visa types and what they have to offer you at the moment. The list of the countries are on the screen. It's not an exhaustive list of countries, as I mentioned earlier. but these are some of the countries you may say, oh, I want to go check out because, oh, they have a startup visa or the other. So we've got Denmark. Denmark has a 2-year residency program, which is a type of startup visa. They would give you dedicated support from their government. And what happens with that is that you can apply for it in multiples, meaning that you can renew the visa after every 2 years of being in Denmark. Portugal recently upgraded their startup visa, and if you check online, you will find a lot of information about some of the changes that has happened in Portugal around the Portuguese startup visa. They will be looking at your startup from a couple of lenses. They will be looking at your startup from the degree of innovation. They'll be looking at scalability of the business. They'll be looking at the market potential. And there are several other requirements which you can find online, right? One of those important requirements for this particular visa is that you need to show that this startup has the capacity of creating jobs in Portugal, right? And there's a certain cap in terms of how much job they are looking at to say, is this innovative? And then can it create jobs? Can it create jobs up to a certain amount? And then you would be able to be on your way towards this visa type. As I mentioned, some of these visa types are easier than others, but we're just giving you an idea of some of the different startup visas that do exist at the moment. We've got New Zealand as well. New Zealand's visa is for 3 years. The approval is in 2 stages. The first stage is a 1-year work visa, and then the next stage is 2 years of residence permit. There are a couple of criteria you need to meet as well. And by now, you should probably start seeing some common denominators around some of these startup visas. For this one, you need to have a minimum amount of capital invested in your startup. I will not be mentioning the amount because you can literally go Google some of this information by yourself. You need to also show that you have a record of not being bankrupt, meaning that it's not like you've run many startups into the ground before in the past. You need to meet the proof of English criteria. You need to show that you are LD as well as part of that particular startup visa. We've got Spain, and Spain as well as the Spain startup visa. I'm looking at my time. Chile has the startup visa, and there are a bunch of them that do exist at the moment. Japan has the entrepreneurial visa. Estonia has the startup visa. And with the Estonian startup visa, you also get something, there's also something called the e-residency scheme in Estonia. You may want to check that out as part of the things that you are looking at. Hong Kong has the entrepreneurial visa. And Singapore has the entry pass. And you need to have a certain amount of guaranteed funding for Singapore's version of the startup visa. And there are several versions of this startup visa, as I've mentioned earlier, and it's up to you to then do your research, spend a bit of time. And yes, our coaches are also available to give a bit of guidance around some of these startup visas to say, this is what you need to do. In case you need information. Something I advise people is that spend the time before you spend the money. Spend the time before you spend the money. And what I mean by that is that a lot of this information is available in public domain. Emigrate, for example, has done a lot of different open days, focus on one startup visa or the other, one tech-enabled visa or the other. Start with that research. We're hoping that this session has inspired you. We're hoping that this session is informing you about these about some of these opportunities. You may not have been tracking them in the past. You may not have thought that these opportunities are for you. And that's one of the things I'm hoping that you are getting from this session, that these opportunities are for you. The fact that you are in tech, the fact that you are thinking about being in tech, the fact that you're a startup founder, the fact that you spend years, 20 years, 30 years in the field of technology, the fact that you even have an interest in tech. There are visa types that have been made available for you. As we mentioned, we will zoom in into 2 visa types. And the two that we'll zoom in on is the Canada Startup Visa and the UK Startup Visa. The Canada Startup Visa has a direct pathway to permanent residency. In fact, the startup visa will start by you getting a temporary visa, because the permanent residency takes a couple of months to process. And the gates that the country has put in is that you need to get an endorsement, or, well, it's not called an endorsement. You need to get an endorsement or investment from a list of pre-approved organizations. We've had conversations around this visa type in the past, and because I'm sort of overshooting my time, I will skip on to the UK Startup Visa. The UK Startup Visa does not have a pathway to settlement, the direct pathway to settlement. It has an indirect pathway to settlement. The indirect pathway to settlement is that you can actually convert that startup visa to an innovator visa. The innovator visa has a direct pathway to settlement. The UK startup visa, however, is one of the easier ones that you can get, because that startup visa, the only thing you need to focus on is to be able to show that your startup is innovative, scalable, and viable. You need to show that to people that are called endorsing bodies, and those endorsing bodies are able to endorse you and your idea to the Home Office. The Home Office processes visa for the UK. Emigrate has come up with a package. So how Emigrate can help is we've got a bunch of things that we can help with, starting with an Emigrate, with by extension also Beacom Dev Center, which is the organization that currently incubates Emigrate. We've got talent development programs that can help you. We mentioned some of them, the Global Tech Program, Beacom Academy, and so on, depending on what level you are in the field of tech. That is available. We've got coaching programs that can help, including being able to handhold you over a 1-year period, 2-year period, up until the point when you learn some of these visa types, depending on what level you are. We've got the Startup Builder program, and then we have different tech-enabled visa packages. The first three I've mentioned is focused on people who may be at the beginner or intermediate level in the field of tech. But then for the tech-enabled visa packages, some of these are geared directly towards some of us in the room who have many years of experience in tech, and we are ready to take the next step in our career by applying our trade in different countries. One of those startup packages is the move to the UK in 3 to 6 months. The move to UK in 3 to 6 months is focused on the UK startup visa. This is one of the visa type I mentioned when I listed a bunch of almost 15 or so different startup visa types. And the move to UK in 3 to 6 months, you need a budget of around 5,000 to 10,000 pounds to be able to approach this particular opportunity. But what it does is this, and I'll explain it by saying that if you've ever considered to say, oh, I want to move to the UK as a student using the UK student route, then we advise that please take a look at this opportunity, particularly if you are already in tech, particularly if you're already a startup founder. Now, even if you are not yet in tech, you can still take a look at this opportunity to say, oh, maybe this is my opportunity to build a startup that could change the world. Don't forget, at the beginning of this session, we did mention that for us, the visa itself is only a pathway, is only a stepping stone to a greater objective. The visa is available to you because you are globally attractive. The visa is available to you because the countries have realized that, oh, if you are bringing your innovation, your idea, your talent, and so on, then you can add value. Now, what I'm saying is that even if you have 0 years of experience in tech, then this is a beginner-friendly route, because within a 1 to 3 months, you can literally get into tech. The second problem that you may say is that, oh, I have no startup background. Then within another 3 months or thereabout, you can literally start building a startup background. You don't have to quit your job. if you don't have to quit your job, you can actually do many of these things on a part-time basis. Now, as I mentioned, if you've literally ever considered to say, the UK master's or the UK student route is my preferred pathway to moving to the UK, then we are saying that please take a look at this route as well. We did a comparison here that you may find interesting. The student route, the UK student route, is a 3-year route at the moment, generally speaking. I mean, different people have different nuances to it, but generally a 3-year route. You do 1-year master's, and then you get 2 years of post-study visa. The startup visa route is 2 years flat. You cannot renew it. And this is important to say because also with the student route, right, you only have 3 years, but you have 2 years. Now, there's no pathway to settlement for the two of them, but you probably have a friend that has moved to the UK using the UK student route. Both of them have no pathway to settlement. And so, yes, that may be a challenge, but then there are several ways people find different. So this is an indirect route to settlement, and people find different ways in which they are able to settle. And we've done different open days around this. But this is where it gets interesting. The student visa route only allows you to work part-time in the UK. You are not to work more than 20 hours in the UK. I'm aware some people risk their visas, and we know of people that have been deported because they exceeded that. With the startup visa route, you can work full-time in the UK. The only thing is that you must spend considerable time building your startup in addition to working full-time. So basically, you can spend maybe 8 hours a week, 20 hours a week, whatever it is, building your startup. And at the end of the day, you can still work full-time doing other things, making income. For both of these routes, your family can move with you. For both of these routes, they have indirect and direct pathways to settlement in the UK. And so it's up to you then to say, hey, I'm in tech. I have this number of years of experience in tech. Do I need to stop my work right now to go and do a master's? Or do I want to start using some of these skills I've built in the field of technology to do something else? Interesting thing is that your startup does not have to become successful. The world realizes that 9 out of every 10 startups fail within the first 2 or 3 years. I can't remember specifically what the statistic says. And so the world knows this already. And so even with this visa route, your startup does not need to be successful for you to get on the route. And so rather than and this route, the UK startup visa route, is cheaper. And so it's something we think that you should take a look at to say, hey, if I've ever considered master's route, you've done your research, you've applied to a couple of schools and all of that, take a look at this visa route as well. It would not work for everybody. It's not everybody that is cut out to be a startup founder, but we believe that generally speaking, if you are already in the field of technology, then to a large extent, you can actually spend some time to say, oh, can I actually do this? Because at the end of the day, you have nothing to lose and you have a lot to gain. With the UK startup visa route, I realized that I didn't show requirements for many of the visa type because I was rushing for time, and Moody will soon start for question and answer now. These are the requirements on the screen. And you can also just Google UK startup visa and you'll find more information around the requirement. The startup visa, there's a second one of the type. If you already have a well-established startup, if you've invested more than £50,000 on your startup, or you have that level of investment, or you have that potential for investment, you may also want to consider the UK innovator visa route. What you should, however, know is that with the innovator visa, the current form of the innovator visa, because yes, a few changes are coming within the next couple of months to this particular visa type, the current form, you cannot work somewhere else. And so not to confuse some of us in the room, there are 2 different visas I mentioned. The startup visa is the one I compared with the master's. And then there's the innovator visa, which is a different visa type as well that you may be interested in doing a bit of research on. Now, as I mentioned, Emigrate is help to help. We do a lot of things for free, but then we do charge a premium for a lot of things, for a few things as well. So we do a lot of things for free. We charge a premium for a few things as well. And so that's pretty much what we wanted to present today. And we're hoping that you would have a lot of questions that we can answer. What we started with was comparing or sharing details about a bunch of countries that currently have different startup visa programs, and many other countries of the world are building new startup visa programs. It will surprise you to know that even the US, they don't have a direct one. They have the old one and so on. They are also building and discussing at the moment some visa types. We don't know if it's going to end up coming out or not, but there are some discussions that we are privy to around bringing up that, because the US is also worried at this point that a lot of innovation is moving to China, moving to Europe, and so on. So they're looking at ways to make it easier for the best of the best, the innovators, to come to their jurisdiction. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to share. And then we allow about 30 minutes for question and answer. Back to you, Moody.
All right. Thank you, buddy. That was very extensive. And we're happy you were able to cover as much as you could, right? So I will jump at it. First question is the startup visa limited to only tech startups? Is the first question we got today.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the answer is, I'll answer from every other country, and then I'll come back to the UK since I focus mostly at the end in the UK. The answer is no. For many of the countries of the world, they are not generally, some of them are not specifying tech startup, and some of them are specifying tech startups, right? So some of them call it entrepreneurial visa because they, rather than thinking about startup, they are saying that, okay, if you can show you have a potential of creating 10 employment within a certain point in time, then we think you should come to our economy, because that's 10 people off the streets because you brought your innovation to their economy. Now for the UK, the same question in terms of if it's limited, is that the answer is also no. However, it is very difficult for any other type of business to show that their startup is innovative, viable, and scalable. And so, to a large extent, focus on tech startup. Also, Emigrate is focused on tech-enabled visa pathways. So even though many of these don't specify to say it must be a tech startup, many of them, the way the requirements are written, it's literally impossible to say, oh, I want to build a petrol station and then it's going to be innovative and scalable, that kind of thing. I hope that helps.
Yeah, I think that helps. And it's important to also mention that we are focused on the tech startup on this platform. And I just want to also mention to everyone in the audience that we are actually tweeting. If you're on Twitter, you can join us on the tweets, repost the tweets. The link to the tweet is on our chat for you to join the conversation on Twitter, right? So thank you very much. We go to the next question. How do you get endorsement for the UK startup visa is the next question. How do you get endorsement?
Yeah. For UK startup visa, you get endorsement by simply approaching the endorsing body. There's a list of it's less than 50 endorsing bodies that are able to give the endorsement at the moment. That they've been given the license by the UK Home Office for them to be able to give that endorsement. So that's the way to get the endorsement. There are 3 types of these endorsing bodies. So there are many schools are endorsing bodies. So if you graduated from a particular school, some of those schools have endorsing body. They have a limitation to say you need to be a graduate from our school for you to approach them. So it's probably not what you are looking for. There are a few other ones which they run like annual programs. So they do like a call for application once a year, twice a year, the likes of Techstars, 500 Startup, Y Combination is not in the UK. I can't remember the others, but there are a bunch of them. You can find them also on that list. And what they do is they open for application once or twice a year. And then you submit your startup. They may get up to 1,000 startups and all of that. And what happens is at the end of the day, they shortlist to maybe 10 startups and then they endorse those 10 startups. Then there are some that have like that you are able to approach because they have different types of programs where you can approach them at any point in time in the year, and they will be able to consider your startup, decide if it meets those criteria, and then they are able to give you an endorsement. However, you stand a better chance if you have a coach like Emigrate being able to work with you in approaching those endorsing bodies. The reason is because there's a method to the madness, and I will leave it at that.
Thank you very much. All right. So there's a question here. It's not directed at startup visa, but I would just like to take it. It's from Thank God. He says, "Thank you. Thanks for the session. My question is about Tech Nation visa, which I am still building documents. So if I surpass the word limit, now here's the question. If I surpass the word limit for my personal statement, which is 1,000, and I have 1,107 word after several editing, does it affect my endorsement chance anyway? I would just say to you that you stick to the recommendation of 1,000 words. You don't want to check if a word extra or a paragraph extra would affect your chances. They have recommended 1,000 words. The recommendation, I don't know if anybody has anything to say to that, but I would say stick to the recommendation.
Okay, thank you for allowing me to answer it, because I thought you would say we are focused on startup visa today. Okay, so the thing is, thank God, you will not even be able to submit your personal statement if it's more than 1,000 words, because the form that you have to put the personal statement in limits to 1,000 words.
1,000 words.
You can't even submit it in the first place. But the general thing I would say is that don't test boundaries. If the requirement says 1,000 words, then do 1,000 words. Why are you asking a question like, oh, can I submit 1,100 and what's the name? What that means is that you'll be asking questions like, oh, if they say it should be 3 pages, should it be 5 pages? Can I submit 5 pages and all of that? Don't test boundaries. If they've given you requirements, try and meet those requirements as much as possible. But then this session is focused on startup visas from all over the world. And so we would focus on that. I'm sure we have other open days coming. I believe we have one in 2 weeks or 3 weeks where a female developer will be speaking, and that will be focused on the UK technician visa.
All right, so drop your questions around UK startup or startup visa globally. Any question you have, any doubts you want to clarify, we still have a few minutes to spend here. We'll have a question that says, after the startup visa period is expended, what's the next best route to get your residency? This person is looking at life after getting endorsement. So
is that for UK? Could you please specify what country you're speaking about? But
only
for UK.
You want to specify what country you're looking at?
Okay, yeah, and then we can move to.
Yes, UK.
Oh, it is UK. Yeah, so for the UK, the startup visa, the next one that they've said by the Home Office is the innovator visa. But the thing is, if I will use the Nigerian palace, your startup must blow for you to literally be able to get ILR from the innovator visa, right? There's a method to the madness as well. Well, you can book a short session to get more details and all of that. There are things I can't share on a recorded session like this. However, there are other options as well. You can cross into tier 2 visa, get a company that is able to sponsor you. One of the things we say for the UK is that if you are already onshore, it is easier to get a company to sponsor you. It is not impossible for you to get a company to sponsor you from your own country, wherever it is in the different countries where Emigrate has an audience. However, it is easier if you're already onshore. So what you can do is that you can move using the startup visa the same way people move using the student visa, and then you can now find different pathways to settlement. And then the UK technician visa is another option as well. So I've said 3 options right there. UK innovator visa, the tier 2 visa, which is certificate of sponsorship from an employer. Then you've got the UK global talent visa. There's the scale up visa. There's the UK point system that is coming up, and there's a few other options along that line.
All right. Thank you. Please keep your questions coming in. We want to take as much questions as possible. I will go to Michael, who's asking, are these endorsements free of cost?
Some endorsements are, some endorsements are not. Some endorsements will require you to pay a token for assessment. Some endorsement will require you to pay much more than a token for you to join an incubator or accelerator program, a paid one where you are paying, not that they are paying you, for you to be able to get into the program, and that program will be able to give you sponsorship. So it depends on the different endorsing bodies, the different route that you may be interested in looking at, and so on.
Okay. Is there any English language? So for this, is there any English language requirement for Nigerians for the UK startup visa application?
The simple answer is yes. You need English language. Then there are two options. Well, yeah, three options. If you study in the UK, then yes, you meet the requirement already because you have a UK degree. Second option is that if you already have, if you graduated from Nigerian universities, they don't allow polytechnics as far as I know as at this point. You can approach a body called NARIC. It used to be called NARIC, is now called ECTIS. You can approach them to endorse your certificate. But unfortunately, at this moment, we're speaking, ASU in Nigeria, for example, is on strike. So you can't get the things you need from your university to be able to get that. And then the last option is you can write the proof of English test.
Yeah. So thank you for that. You need English as a requirement, but it has expanded on the different options you can go around it. And okay, we have a question around finances, around budgets. Somebody's asking the budget of 5K to 10K pounds for UK. What and what does that cover?
That's an interesting question, and that's one of the questions I believe we will be able to answer depending on your circumstance. The reason why that range is very far apart is because it would depend on many things, starting from, are you already in tech? Are you starting from ground zero, meaning you need to even start learning tech? Then do you already have some startup background? Then it will also depend on what endorsing body can we approach for your idea. Because different endorsing body have different budgets and different costs and so on. So it will depend on several things for us to be able to say exactly what it is that you do require. However, from an Emigrate perspective, we allow a 10 minutes free session where we can have where we can discuss with you, understand you, because Emigrate also does not accept every single person onto its coaching program. We want to see that you have a certain mindset, right? A growth mindset, literally speaking, because if you have the mindset of, oh, I'm just going to pay the cost and then I'll sit in my house and I'll expect the visa tomorrow, then I'm sorry. Unfortunately, we are not the home office and so on. And so we want to understand that you're actually trying to build yourself to become globally attractive, or your current focus is the visa and only the visa.
All right, fantastic. So we have links to the Emigrate communities on the chat, right? So if you have that link, if you're on the chat, you can find the link there. So we have links to Telegram, we have links to Facebook community, LinkedIn community, any of the social community that it's your preferred community. Please join and be very active there. I like to say, and ask questions there. There are a lot of content. We just have an hour 30 minutes for this conversation. We are coming to a close, right? But the conversation continues on those communities, so you can keep asking questions. And also we are having this conversation also on Twitter. There's a link to the Twitter thread. You can also join, help retweet that, or tweet whatever you've learned from today's session with the hashtag there. Yeah, so we'll go back to the questions.
Just before we go back to the question, I will just also say that in terms of this session, we focused on the Canada startup visa and the UK startup visa today, but we have a poll coming on your screen shortly where we are asking that what countries are you interested in? So that way, because we're looking at doing one or two more editions of this session focused on startup visas. And so if you let us know to say, oh, this is the country I would like to, then we can bring coaches around that particular country or countries, depending on what it is that you give us feedback. I know that poll will go in the great community, but if you're already on this session right now, you can also give us feedback immediately.
Okay, thank you. Please look out for the poll. Right, and we just reshared the links to the various Emigrate community. And someone is asking, does the startup visa cover just one person, all co-founders? So if a startup that has multiple co-founder, is it that they are all going to apply individually, or they can have one application and that covers the co-founders of the startup?
If there are multiple co-founders, each co-founder has to be assessed individually. I assume you are speaking about the UK startup visa. Each co-founder has to be assessed individually. But for each co-founder, that one co-founder can bring their family. So that's immediate family. That's your wife and children. So not your grandma, auntie, your brother's father's wife, and all of that. No, just your immediate family. You can bring for that one endorsement for that one co-founder. But if there are multiple co-founders, they generally would have to be assessed separately and given an endorsement separately. So all of you will move from using different endorsement, but it can be the same startup or the same idea as well.
All right. So I was going to ask a question around. So I have a startup, and I migrated to the UK, for example, with the startup visa, but it's not working out. Right? Can I get a job? Does my visa allow me get job within the UK? Or must I work alone for my startup?
With the UK startup visa, you can get a job from your day one in the UK as long as you spend considerable time working on your startup. Meaning that you can't just say, oh, I got the visa, I get to the UK, and then the idea that you submitted to the Home Office to say you want to build, you don't even spend any time trying to build that startup at all. But the Home Office understands the fact that your startup is risky. It may not be able to pay your bills and your family's bills. And so you can get a full-time job while you're also working on your startup. The hope is that within the 2 years, you can then move on to the innovator visa, meaning that your startup has grown to a point where you've invested £50,000 and you've gotten to a stage where it can then be endorsed as an innovator visa idea. So yes, you can get a job full-time in the UK with the startup visa as per the current rules. If you are on the innovator visa, which is a different visa, I know some people may get confused, but the innovator visa is a different visa. That the current requirement today says that you can only work in your startup because your startup already has investment, meaning your startup should probably be able to pay you within the innovator visa parlance. However, that requirement may be changing in the coming months. It's not yet official, but we have information that maybe some of us on the call do not have. And so that may change. But as of today, the requirement says innovator visa, you can only work in your startup. The startup visa, then you can work anywhere else as long as you spend time working on your startup.
All right, thank you. We have the feedback form ongoing at the moment. So if you please kindly oblige us. We just want to be able to get feedback as to what you would like, what you would like to hear from us, which of the other startup visa or which of the other tech visa you want us to spotlight in our subsequent edition. So this will help us. All right. So thank you for participating in the polls. Thank you very much. Thank you for the retweet on Twitter. Thank you for joining the communities. We didn't get a lot of questions from the Canada startup visa. I don't know if we need to spend more time explaining that. I don't know if everybody understand what the opportunities there. But I wanted to ask with respect to the Canada startup visa. So is it we must have an endorsing or an investment body in Canada? How easy is it to get those investment body? Are there platform we can apply through, or are there accelerator programs that are open that we can apply through?
Yeah. So how easy it is? The UK startup visa is easier than the Canada startup visa at the moment, but then UK startup visa is in direct pathway to settlement. Canada startup visa is a direct pathway to settlement. With the Canada startup visa, it's not just your business plan. You need to have some sort of working prototype and so on. How easy is it? What do you need to do? You need to get I can't remember the right name now for it, but you can find it online. You need to get a body to either say that this idea is good, come to the Canada to build it, or you need to get one of the qualified investors to invest in your idea. What that means is that obviously for you to get them to invest, it means that they must see something in your startup in the first place. So it's not going to be a case of just writing a business plan. It's a case of actually building the startup, getting to a point where you can approach the investors and then they can invest in you, or you get to a point where you can approach some of those endorsed bodies. There's a name for it in Canada, but it's similar to just an endorsement body as well. And getting to those endorsement bodies to say, hey, look at my idea, and then you can invest in it. And then those categories I mentioned for the UK startup visa, similar categories exist for Canada startup visa as well.
Okay, fantastic. So forgive me, somebody was asking, I'll just paraphrase, he's doing a master online in a UK university. He's based in Nigeria, and he's doing an MBA program online. And he's saying to apply for a startup visa where he needs English, proof of English as a requirement. That is the UK university he's on, but it's online. Does that count as, schooling or graduating from a UK university? You mentioned if you graduate from a UK university, you might not have to take the English exam or proof. Yeah.
So I need to just give a caveat. We are not offering legal advice. Neither are we offering immigration advice. What we are sharing is from our experience and sharing our time in terms of coaching along the line of tech-enabled visa pathways. In terms of your specific question, I don't have the specific answer right now. We can check for you and then confirm to you based on public information, or also asking if we do have lawyers in our network who can actually help, but this looks like a question that we can simply ask and then they can answer. And so if you're in the community, you can drop the question in the community as well, and then somebody will get back to you.
Okay, thank you. Then we have a Canadian question. What is the cost implication for the Canada startup visa?
It depends, right? It starts from free and it goes much higher in some cases than the UK startup visa. So it could be up to $25,000, $30,000 in this case now, depending on what it is. But it could also be free, because if you get into one of the programs which I explained earlier, on your own merit, on your startup's merit, then it will be free for you to get the endorsement, but then there will be a few application fees that you will need to pay.
All right. So the poll is still on. So please indulge us. It will take less than a minute to fill the poll. Right. And we're still on Canada. We have a question. So the first question is the cost implication. The second question is, how do I get the endorsement body? I think you've explained a bit about that. And the third question is, are there specific tech-based endorsement body? How do they fund the business? So this person talking about tech startup visa for Canada, right?
Yes, they are endorsement bodies. They are not called endorsement bodies. They are called designated organizations. I'm sharing my screen to just give some details. And this is in public domain, so you can go on this site as well to get this same information that I'm sharing on my screen. It could be a venture capital fund. It can be an angel investor group, or it can be a business incubator. And for the business incubators, there are some of them that are focused strictly on tech, and many of them, in fact, are focused strictly on tech. But then there are some that there are different kinds of other businesses they take a look at as well. So I'm not sure if I've answered the two questions, but yeah, I think I did.
Yeah, I think you have, right.
So I'll just scroll down just so you get a glimpse for anyone. And there are many of them, but there are some that are easier to approach than others. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, so these are all in public domain, so you can go on this site. A simple Google search will throw these answers to you. But if you need a coach, you need a team, or you need a cohort to work with, this is where the community becomes very powerful, because you can work with you hand in hand, and we can have sessions with you. A coach can work with you and help you put together your application, help you review them, right? I should say your application, make sure you have a good footing or a good standing before putting in those application. Time is fast spent. We have less than 2 minutes to go. And thank you everyone for participating. Thank you for all your questions. The community is open. We'll continue the conversations within the community. For those of you that have more questions, for those of you that have specific questions as relate to your own specific journey, you don't want to ask in a public space, you can book in a session within the community for 30 minutes with any of our coaches, and we'll take the conversation from there. We hold Emigrate Open Days every other fortnight, Wednesdays, 2 weeks. There's one coming up in 2 weeks, right? So please share this link with your friends, colleagues who are looking to becoming globally attractive, who are looking to relocate their businesses or locate their skill sets or their talent to different demography. We're going to be talking about different tech-enabled visa pathway that they can leverage. And do look out for our publications. So we have last question I was going to ask Barry to talk on. We have a program, I should say, running at the moment. Might relocate or move is the word to the UK in 3 to 6 months, which is specific to the UK startup visa. But did you want to share more about that? In 2 to 3 minutes, if that's enough time, because we've spent all our time today.
For the
all right.
move to UK in 3 to 6 months, we're focused on the UK startup visa, and basically we're able to handle you through the entire process of being able to land the UK startup visa. The process starts with an initial conversation with you, just for us to know whether or not we even want to move forward with you as an individual. You could start from having no experience in tech at all. You don't need any experience in tech to be able to get on that particular package. But if you have some tech experience, many years of experience, or just a few months of experience, it will help. Because when we are discussing a few things like valuation and things like that, at least you know what it is we're talking about. But then if you also have some background in startup, that also helps. It is not compulsory, because if you don't have any background in startup, we would handle you through that process as well for you to start building experience in startup. If you already have an idea that you want to build, that helps as well. But if you don't have any idea, we would help you with also being able to ideate, to bring out ideas that and problems that you have seen that you can actually build a startup, tech-enabled, digital product-led for that would help to solve a particular problem in the world. It's important that whatever it is that you are working on, if you are interested in the UK startup visa, whatever it is that you're working on needs to be viable, innovative, and scalable. So those things are important, but it's also important that it's something that you are passionate about, so that it's something that it would not be a burden for you to be trying to build that within the next 2 years. Because for us, one of the things we believe is, why don't you try? Because yes, it's one of 10 that may succeed, but what if it's yours? What if you are the next Elon Musk, really, right? And so rather than you focus on just the visa, you may also be able to do much more. But at the very least, you've moved your family, you've moved yourself, and you are also probably in a better jurisdiction to bring much more better things out from inside of you in terms of your innovation, being globally attractive, and so on. So I don't know if I answered the question. All I've said is that the package starts from whether you are 0 years or many years of experience, but within 3 to 6 months, you would be able to literally be able to use the UK startup visa as your launching pad for relocation and settlement. If you're interested in that, you can reach out to any of these numbers. What you need to do is just send a WhatsApp message to say you're interested in this package to any one of these numbers, and they will be able to give you more details about it and what the next steps are as well.
All right. So thank you very much, buddy. Thank you for your time today. I don't know if there's any other questions within the group or within the chat. All right. This has been fantastic. Right. So
yeah. Okay. I'll just like to say a quick final word. The quick
Okay,
final
go for
word
it.
I'd like to say is that the UK startup visa was easier last year than it is today. You can still land it today, but it is getting harder. And so one of the things I would simply say is that if you are interested in this, you may want to move quickly rather than not quickly, right? You absolutely don't have to work with Emigrate, but if you're also interested in working with Emigrate, the move to the UK in 3 to 6 months is going to be time limited because the gate is getting narrower. And because it's getting narrower, we also, would have to time limit it. Second thing I would say is that there's a lot of information out there, but a lot of these things, if you do not take action, if you do not make a plan, if you don't work on it quickly, sometimes you may end up coming back in a year's time, finding out that you haven't done anything with the information. The first thing we will say is that please take action. If there's something you need to do immediately, then do it immediately. If you need to make a plan, if you need to dust that old idea that it is that you've been thinking about, do those things because these countries want you, particularly if you are globally attractive.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for participating on the polls. The polls is still up. You can also share your comments, ideas in the chat. We have less than a minute to go. And we have our community links. You can join the community where we'll continue these conversations. And there's also a link to a thread on Twitter where this conversation is ongoing also. You can do where to tweet at the thread or retweet also. And let's help put this message out there for people that are interested in moving to the UK, people that are interested in leveraging on the startup visa a pathway or tech-enabled pathway that we have within the Emigrate ecosystem. So thank you very much. We'll be passing more information through our social media channels for the next edition. So do well to share with your friends, your colleague, and anyone interested in relocation or moving to a different market, a different demography, or a different ecosystem. Thank you for your time. Take advantage of all that have been said today. The move to the UK in 3 to 6 months is still on for now. So take advantage of it. There are tech-enabled pathway that are currently on. Take advantage of them. There are a lot of information that has been said. This video will be live on YouTube, will be recorded and posted on YouTube. So you can go back to this video immediately we are done. And you can listen again in case you miss out on anything. But the most important part is what Barry has said. You have to take action. Without taking action, then this has not been a good use of our time. But if you take action, then we can start moving forward. Then we can start positioning you gradually to becoming globally attractive. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. See you some other time. Thank you.